The European Union has been killing your liberties for decades. Today I'm going to address some of the things the EU has implemented over the past decades and how you can escape the tyranny that's forced onto EU citizens. The European Union was founded in 1993, so you can see this organization has been around for a very long time. The EU started out as a very promising concept, offering free travel to citizens of the Union. The common market concept was really one of the biggest selling points EU politicians elaborated about before the implementation of the European Union. We're not denying that the EU doesn't come up with its pros. However, the European Union has turned into a vicious organization that so many of us are trying to escape from. Some of the most recent policy implementations that we have witnessed during the past crisis shocked people across the Union, from harsh, unjustified lockdowns all the way to health passports. European Union citizens had seen it all. Well, there was a good justification in place, such as protecting the elderly from the widespread disease. Many young and middle-aged European Union citizens were also highly encouraged to take the protection that was in place at the time. Whatever the mainstream narrative is, people will follow. No matter what our governments are preaching about, this is what the majority of people will eventually do. Once we heard something more than 9 times, numerous studies have been done on how repetitive patterns create an urge for us to implement something. Once we have heard something at least 9 times, we're more encouraged to do it. We're more encouraged to listen to it. The more frequently we hear a story, the greater the chance we start believing in it. Whether the story is actually true or not is a whole other discussion. Talking about wokeism in the European Union, we can clearly see that the main narrative that's being pushed onto our children in school has changed drastically over the past number of decades. With the erosion of old school traditional Christian values, organizations with its headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland, have done an extraordinary job further educating people about the non-existence of God. Some organizations headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, have done a great job at re-educating the boomers, Gen Z, and also millennials into believing certain narratives that better serve these organizations. And with EU citizens serving these organizations' narrative, the following happens. A different society is being produced. A different society lives with different habits. And different habits are ultimately are founded by different beliefs, which is exactly what the very top institutions, organizations, headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, have accomplished over the past number of decades. And this goes way back before the foundation of the European Union in 1993. The madness that I'm addressing at this very moment in time has actually begun in the early 60s, when institutions that are now headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, have recreated our belief system, disproving the existence of God, which has led to the destruction of Christian values, which has destroyed family life, which has increased divorce rates, which has made relationships more difficult than ever before. A relationship that does not have God in the middle is a relationship that will not work. Without naming these specific organizations that are headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, it is all clear to us who I'm addressing inside this video. Wokeism goes much deeper though. It actually starts with the education our children receive in European schools. The normalization of same-sex marriages, which is orchestrated perfectly, which is indoctrinated perfectly across European Union schools, has created a shift in mindset among our youngest generations, creating a lot of confusion. No child on earth should be forced into listening to a narrative that goes against the belief that is necessary to form a family correctly. Yet it is done by professors in European Union schools. If we compare this to the narratives that are being taught in schools across more conservative countries, including those in Latin America, a country like Paraguay, where I'm currently located, has not indoctrinated these modern-day beliefs that confuse people, especially children, during the time when they need nourishment the most. It's actually quite sad what's been happening in European schools, and if you decide to go against the mainstream narrative that's being pushed onto our children, you often get rejected. In fact, you're being criticized for it. What was once normal has become abnormal, and the abnormal has become normal. It's quite a wicked game that we're playing in the 21st century. While everybody is allowed to do whatever they want to do with their lives, forcing these beliefs onto children that don't even have the mental capacity to know what their own truth entails, we can clearly see that we're living in a very dangerous time. Another reason why European liberties are in danger and in decline is because of how difficult it is to purchase firearms legally. There is a reason why certain establishments and governments don't want us to own firearms. It has to do with the fact that firearms ultimately mean liberty. Firearms mean freedom. Firearms mean certainty, something our governments don't want us to have in the 21st century. Our governments want us to be as obedient as possible so that they can push through with their policies serving the objective of the select elite, many of which are sitting in Geneva, Switzerland. Digital currencies are further harming European liberties. The potential implementation of an EU central bank digital currency has raised eyebrows across millions and millions of EU citizens living in Europe. There is a good argument that digital currencies make, which is ease of transaction, flexibility, and not having to carry money on you. Of course, there are always benefits to a new model. However, digital currencies could serve as a surveillance tool to the EU central bank, and eventually and ultimately this information could be handed over to the EU and its governments. Central bank digital currencies don't create more freedom, they diminish our freedoms. Now, if we look at all these issues associated with the EU removing the liberties of EU citizens, we can clearly see that we're on a path of no return. While some countries in Europe are going against the narratives that are pushed onto the EU and all of its governments, many governments and citizens of the EU are in perfect alignment with these policies, further accelerating the change the elite desires. One of the best things you can do is move to a country where its government does not particularly want to enforce the removal of liberties. Such a country is Paraguay, which is located in the heart of South America. Paraguay is home to a small government, relaxed gun laws, a very conservative society where masculinity and femininity are still very much intact, and a territorial tax system that allows you to consume overseas income tax-free in Paraguay. Of course, Paraguay is just one of many options that you have to escape the removal of liberties that you see in your EU country. You could also consider relocating to Central America or other parts of Latin America where residency can be granted. If you're interested in obtaining residency, securing your liberties, getting more out of life, lowering your taxes, and finding happiness, then please book a consultation with me today. Go to nomadelite.com and click on book a consultation. I look forward to consulting you on the best possible path forward so that you can escape the removal of liberties in the EU. Thank you so much for watching Nomad Elite. I appreciate your attendance and I look forward to welcoming you to the next video.